So, with that said, John, Hollis got our sponsors. He helped us. He is the reason that the supergroup is here. And we are thrilled to have been able to partner with them this year because, as I said, we have never found anybody to match our primary purpose, drive, and our work ethic. And we just cannot thank them enough. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big recovery welcome to John Hollis. And we'll open with a moment of silence followed by the sermon prayer. God, grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the courage to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Both.
You might want to ask. You want to talk with it or you want to sit?
I can sit. Hey, I'm John, and I'm definitely an addict and an alcoholic. You know, if you had told me 5 years ago that my life would be where it's at today, I'd have told you were smoking crack. You know, my life, because of God and the people about me, has changed immensely, and it's just incredible. And what saved my life was putting myself into the middle of recovery. What saved my life was, no matter what, mad, glad, or sad, not picking up the first drink or drug. What saved my life was getting involved in recovery and not looking for anything. And this is what my sponsor told me. My sponsor said, listen, if you're going into shit with a motive, you're wrong. If you're going into stuff with motives, you better, bad motives or personal motives, you're wrong. You go into them and the outcome's up to God. And I got to tell you that I want to thank, it isn't just me. And I appreciate what Dawn had to say, but you know something? If it wasn't for my wife, Lori, who's been with me for 18 years and has put up with my crap for 18 years, so it's a whole bunch of people. You know, there's people like Jim Bevel. There's people like Ed Canatelli. There's people that have Stephen J. Gray. I mean, I can go on and on and on about the names of the people that made this possible. It wasn't just me. Yeah, I did a lot of footwork, but you know something? If it wasn't up to, if it wasn't for the individuals that I went to and said, hey, listen, we need your support, this wouldn't, it wouldn't have happened. So for guys like Jim Bevel, guys like Ed Canatelli, guys like John Giordano from G&G, I am grateful. I'm also grateful that a day at a time, since December 31st, 2006, I haven't found it necessary to pick up a drink or a drug. I'm also, it's funny, I'm going to give you the Reader's Digest version here. I was born and raised in upstate New York in a place called Poughkeepsie. I came from a dysfunctional family in the hills of Poughkeepsie, and the end result is that I ended up quitting school, 16. I quit with a ninth grade education, and ended up getting my first charge, going to juvie when I was 16 years old. And fast forward, I don't think anybody knows, or everybody knows here, that it's just the same thing. And I don't care what you do, I don't care what substance you put in you, I don't care how you try to do it, it's always the same stuff. The pattern was always the same for me. and it was jail, detox, jail, detox. You know, and I tried to hustle, and I tried to do all the things that people, we try to do to run our game. And in the end, it left me homeless and under a bridge. And I ended up, I picked up my first drink when I was 5 years old. And I had my first drug when I was 11. And I found my love cocaine at the age of 13. And from that point forward, fast forward 32 years of active addiction, my life was totally insane. The feelings that I had of selfless, that self-worth, lack of self-worth, I literally, for years, would do everything to numb myself, to disassociate myself from people, to stay away from the things in life that were good for me. It was all about one big party, and that's how I looked at everything. I attempted recovery in the early 90s. I stayed sober for a period of time, and I went back out. And when I went back out, I got to tell you that the next 12 years were hell. And I moved to Florida. I came down to Florida, and it was 18 years ago when I came down from Florida. And when I got down here, I literally was under a bridge within the first, I would say, 6 months of living down here. And for the next 12 years, that's where I stayed pretty much off and on for the next 12 years. My last, and you know something, I got involved in phone rooms, and I got involved in fast money, and I started to make a lot of fast money, and it would go to the drug dealers, and it would go to all of the rest of the crap that I did when I was using. I affected all of my family. I walked away from 2 children up north. I walked away from a wife up north. You know, literally all of these things were just all manifestations of my use. Nothing good came out of it. My last year out on the streets, I ended up under the 79th Street Causeway Bridge. You know, people in Broward County used to call me Biscayne Johnny. And the reason they called me that is because that's where I lived. And I used to be on the corner of 79th Street and Biscayne Boulevard. And it was so bad at the end that I had a payphone there that people would call me on. And literally, I got to tell you that when I went through this process of getting clean, I was underneath of the bridge, and it was December 31st, 2006, and I walked out from underneath of this bridge, and I don't know what was different that day, but I can tell you there was something different because I had $6 or $8 in my pocket, and I got to the Little River Club, and I sat outside the Little River Club, and Joey M was inside, and I knew Joey M's truck, and I said to myself, you know something? I'm going to go in, and I'm going to pick up, I wanted to pick up a white chip. I just really wanted to pick up a white chip. But here was the epiphany for me, folks, that I said at that point that I was going to understand that my whole life was put together by all of my behaviors. My wife didn't have anything to do with it. Lori didn't have anything to do with it. My kid didn't have anything to do with it. My 2 kids up north didn't have anything to do with it. I was a blamer. I was a runner. I would like to blame you for my problems. See, I had to come to terms with the only person that made the situation was me. Nobody else made that situation. So I had this epiphany that it was nobody else, it was all me. And I had put myself in the same clothes for 30 days, stinking, looking like crap, 160 pounds, panhandling on 82nd Street and Biscayne Boulevard to get my next drink and my next drug. And at that point, I went inside, I bought a pack of cigarettes and a cup of coffee, instead of going out and buying a $3 rock, can of beer, and 3 loose cigarettes that I would start that day out with. What was the difference? Well, I was the king of 30 days. See, I could go 30 days, go back out. Go 30 days, go back out. And here's the reality. I was in and out of this program for 12 years in a big, hard, fast way. And this is what I want for me, this is the thing that took place. At about 30 days, I was sitting, I had amassed my fortune of $70. And I was going to take this $70 and I was going to go down to Broward, or I was going to go down to Miami. I was living in Broward, and I was going to go cop. And I was sitting on the couch, and I was in one of those three-quarter-way houses. And I said to myself, you know something, I'm going to go to the Pompano Beach Group anniversary. Instead of going to Miami like I would with this $70, I'm going to go to the Pompano Beach Group anniversary. And I went, and the guy that's still my sponsor to this day, Jimmy D, was standing there. And I walked up to Jimmy, and I said, Jimmy, I don't want to use. And it was the first time in years that I was able to be honest. Instead of just going with the feeling, I said, I want to use and I need your help. So this is 30 days into my recovery. Now, this is the day that I believe I chose in, because I believe that we have to choose into this. You either choose in or you choose out what's your choice to be. And I had to choose in. And that was the day I chose in, because I handed him the $70 and I said, listen, I don't want to use, man. And the next day, I woke up and I hadn't used. And every time I had ever felt that way, I had used. And here I was the next day, sober and clean. I got to tell you that that gave me the understanding of a God in my life, a loving, nurturing God, even the mustard seed. See, when I was 7 years old, my mom left for a Catholic priest who stayed in the priesthood, and there was really ugliness. My mom and dad split up. I lost all consciousness of God at that point. And I kept resentments for years over it. But I got to tell you, at the very end, that day, all of that melted away, because I understood that God really, when you call upon him and you ask the help of people, God's power works through people. And he will send them if you need them. If you really want them, he will give them to you. But you have to ask, and you got to put your hand out. And that was the most important lesson that I learned that day. And by the grace of God, for the next 9 months, I wanted to use. Let me tell you something. When I got a check on Friday, I would wrench. I would be sick as a dog. Man, glad or sad, my sponsor told me you don't pick up no matter what. You throw yourself into the middle of this program. You help people. You put your hand out. You empty garbage cans. You do what you need to do. And you put yourself in the middle of this program. And I adhered to that, man. Whatever he told me to do, I did, because I never wanted to feel the feelings of degradation that I felt that day sitting on the side of the Little River Club. I never wanted to feel that loneliness again. In the end, my life in the last 5 years is night and day, man. All I wanted when I got here was to pay my rent and to have a carton of cigarettes a week and to not have to use. That I would have settled for that, man. I didn't want to use and have my needs met. And I got to tell you, ever since then, no matter what I've chose to get involved in, my needs have always been met. My kids' needs. I have a 13-year-old son that looks at me today in a way of respect and dignity. He didn't look at me that way before. This is a kid that at 5 years old said, I know, Dad, you have issues. The love in my life of the people around me, my wife, my family. Now, I'm going to tell you, when I got involved with the 12-Step Music Fest this year, some things took place in my life, and I'm going to end with this because, starting May of 2010, my uncle passed away, and he was pretty much in direct responsibility of raising me after my mom and dad had split up, and I would spend every summer with him and his wife. And he passed away, and it was a big hit in my life, man. And then December of 2010, my dad passed away. And then in March, my other uncle. And then in July, my mother. I've had 5 deaths. Lori's dad just passed away. 5 deaths in 16 months. And one of the things that kept me going through all of that was the focus that we need to carry a message. And how are we going to carry that? We're going to carry that through music. We're going to carry that through showing love to other people through harmony and song. I don't know why I gravitated to this, but I got to tell you, I did, and I love every minute of it. I get up in the morning, and I love doing what I do. It's the most incredible feeling to have somebody come up to you and say to you, you know something? I just celebrated a year, and I heard a message from one of your guests on your show, and I went and did what they said, and now I'm picking up my year, and that's happening in my life. The other thing that's a gift is that I have the ability to do that. See, let me tell you something, man. By all rights, my best thinking, and by all rights, I should be under a bridge drooling on myself. It's by God's grace that I sit here tonight, and I know that. And everything that I have tonight fits on the top of a stem. Everything that I've have inside myself, the feelings that I have back, good or bad, the situations that I have back, good or bad, all of those things can be gone with the light of a torch or a drink. I am grateful to be a member of Alcoholics Anonymous. I'm grateful to be a member of 12-step organizations. I'm grateful to be a member in good standing, and most importantly, I'm grateful to be here at the 12-Step Music Fest with people that showed so much love this week. Is amazing. And with that, we got some great music coming up, and I want to thank everybody for being here, man. I really do.
John Hollis, ladies and gentlemen, he's one of the guys that makes this machine run. I know we recognize everybody in the countdown. We're thrilled that you are here. I want to recognize another group as well, the group that is not in recovery themselves, but this isn't an event just for people who have found a new way, but people who have been doing things the right way for a long time and maybe support us or still want to come here and hang out, because this event is really about the music. The rumor was there was a comedy show last night, but there is a whole bunch of stuff that is provided this weekend that nobody writes, that nobody, we try to remember, but nobody writes. We create this. The houses we create when we go home, the homes we create when we're there, the families we create over and over and over again. There's a lot of individualism here, but there's a lot of unity in this place, and we felt that all weekend. I'm really grateful to be part of this. My family is as well.